Oh, yeah. Losing control now. Hey, family. It's community conversations time. Music is terrible, but I'm pretend it's awesome. Yeah. Oh. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. It is July 9th, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Tuesday evening. As always, we'll give a couple minutes for people to get in here and get settled. Otherwise, say hi, let us know where you're from. Music's kind of annoying to hear. What else we got? That's a little loud. Yeah, all right, that's enough music. All right. How's everyone doing tonight? If you're just coming in, say hi. Let us know you're here. Where are you from? I see that Cash is here. Robert's here. Beth is here. Nathan is here. Good to see everyone. Hi, June. Good to see you. Dave Raven in the house. Good to see you, Dave. Let's see here. Got to get everything organized now that I'm in total control of the streams, man. How is Ethan? That's a great question. Hi, Selena from Texas. I'm from Texas. Where are you in Texas, Selena? All right, if you're just joining us, let us know you're here and where you're from. And I'm just going to get through some quick housekeeping, and then we can jump into conversation. So my name is Ethan. I'm a national advocate for the IOCDF. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you are in crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please call 998 or the suicide. Please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. Or you can access it online at www.988lifeline.org. You go to your local emergency room or call 911. As always, we want to create as safe a space as possible and be kind and respectful to everyone here. At the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. Please remember that it's being broadcast on various social media networks and being recorded and will be played back. So keep that in mind as we comment and support one another. With all of that being said, hello. How's everyone doing tonight? OCD housekeeping can take ages. It didn't, though. It took like 27 seconds. I'm from deep South Texas by the border, like Brownsville area. I was born in Houston and lived there for about 11, 12 years. Hey, Stacy, good to see you. All right, as people are getting in and settled, if you're just joining us, Matt Bannister in the house. Good to see you, Matt. Excited to see everyone at the conference. For those of y'all that will be attending, if not, there are virtual options that we hope you will use so you can join in the fun. If you're just joining us, say hello. Let us know you're here, where you're from. Oh, yes, sir. 30 minutes from Brownsville. Okay. I know that area. So first of all, how is everyone doing? UK 43. Are we in a dating site, Cash? How's everyone doing tonight? How are we feeling? What's going on? Any immediate questions or things on your mind that we can talk about before I jump into some things? I was noticing Beth Carducci's comment, my OCD is having a great time with making me feel like I've been taking too many chances going to the store, making me think long COVID is going to get me. So I think you're doing a great job, and keep accepting that uncertainty, Beth, because you're doing great. Hi, Gail. Gail in the house, and Joanne, Midland, Ontario. Excited to see you at the conference too. C, hello, C. Yes, Houston was hit for sure. We have lots of friends and family with that power. Being born and raised in Houston, I don't remember the weather being quite as intense as it has been the last 10 years. June's in Ontario, Canada as well. Colleen, welcome. Hi, I got severe OCD. My residents judge my Tourette's to understand my compulsions. Okay, I'm a brave girl. Hi, Colleen. Welcome. You are in a safe space. You can be supported here and share. Everybody's pretty amazing in the chat. Isastasia, watching from rainy Mexico City. What are you doing in Mexico City? Absolutely, we're sending love to Houston and the Texas coast. Hey, Stacy Rosenthal Young, it's good to see you. All right, so let's get rolling. Hope everyone is doing great. And Selena wrote, we wish you could come too. We do know that it's expensive to attend flights and always depending. That's why we always try to go East Coast, Central, West Coast, so forth and so on. But we have virtual options this year. We also have the virtual conference, which will be in November. So we will make sure to keep you involved. But we always keep prices in mind and are working really hard to make the conference as accessible as possible. How is Ethan with a lot of question marks? Wouldn't you like to know, Cash? Ethan is hi, Nikki Bradley in Dublin. Ethan is tired. Ethan moved this weekend to a new house with Ethan's wife, Katie. And so our house is a mess. We have boxes everywhere. And Yvonne, how are you? Good to see you. Glad you're back. So yeah, we have boxes everywhere, and I did more physically in the last 3 days than I've probably done in the last 3 years. In fact, point of fact, I walked 270 flight of stairs between Saturday and Sunday, at least according to my watch. So that was interesting. My toenails hurt, but these are all good problems, right? We're in a beautiful new place and getting our life situated and organized and ready to start next chapters of our lives, which is one of the gifts of engaging in treatment and surrendering to the uncertainty and being vulnerable and open. And when you do that, life starts to unfold the way you hope it would. And it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you do get views like this, which are quite lovely. Our new garden, and we're just excited to be in our new spot. Thank you, Matt, and thank you all for saying, yeah, it is exhausting to move. It's totally exhausting. We have no furniture. It's coming in a month, and I'm sitting on a card table and a camping chair. So that's the office for the short term. And the cats are very unhappy because they moved from the place that they lived their whole lives, and so we are keeping them in a room for now until they get situated. Melissa Marquez in the house. Good to see you, Michael Schramm. We're loading up with some friends tonight. Grace. Hi, Grace. Good to see you. And thank you, Selena. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Yeah, for a lot of furniture is back ordered. So we were living in a small townhome, and we upgraded to upsized to a much larger house. And so the furniture for our townhome is in various places, but we're missing kind of the major spaces. So they will come. They will come soon. In the meantime, we have enough to sit on at least. So hello from Terrytown, otherwise known as Sleepy Hollow. Oh, Michael. Hey, Michael. Saw your name first. That would have been helpful. I am not allowed any furniture. I scratch furniture and occasionally stain it. So, okay. With all of that going on, what's going on? How are we doing? How is everyone's OCD or related disorders? How can we support each other? What's top of mind tonight? And I'm happy to share, as my OCD and general anxiety has been really high, as I think moving can naturally do that. So it's been a fun challenge, but an exhausting challenge nonetheless. So I'll start. Moving to me is very triggering. It has been for many years. I moved a lot as a kid. I moved at various points in my life. I moved to residential. I moved to a psychiatric hospital. I moved. So moving brings up a lot of stuff for me. So even when it's good moves, just like being disoriented and discombobulated and not feeling like you have a place because the place, your safe space, is sort of upended and you're relocated. And yes, it's a beautiful home, but I'm starting to get used to it. So for me, I told Katie last week, I said, do not take me personally at all, ever, at all, ever, while this move is happening, because I just get so triggered by moves. And that's just me. And so, I think it'll take a couple weeks to kind of just settle. I'm trying to breathe a lot and take my time with things, but of course, there's lots of things going on in different directions, and so it's been challenging. I don't know that my OCD has been ticked up so much as my just general anxiety and my emotions have just been ticked up a little bit. So just lots of feeling of overwhelmingness and just feeling a little bit displaced. Crystal wrote, uh, moving brings up stuff for me too. I just decorated my apartment after living here for 4 years. I'm so glad you did, though. Hopefully it's starting to feel a little bit like home. That's awesome, and I totally get it for sure. um, June wrote, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. June wrote, I'm doing good. I've been telling myself worrying about the thoughts won't benefit me, and only I can control how I react to the thoughts. That's a beautiful statement. I think we can learn a lot from that, June. So I think that worrying and focusing on the thoughts definitely won't benefit you. You can absolutely control your focus and behavior. So, it's not that you're having the thoughts, it's not you're having the feelings, it's how you respond to those thoughts and feelings through focus and actions. And so that is great insight, June. Thank you so much for that. Beth wrote, OMG, when I moved in with my brother, I was so triggered having to move in with someone and being terrified of getting, what, from my brother. I remember that, Beth. I totally remember that. It also is really triggering. I remember when I moved to Los Angeles, I have a horror. Well, anyway, when I moved to Los Angeles from Boston, when I went through my whole treatment process, I didn't know anybody in LA. I mean, I knew people in LA, but no one to live with. So I started, at the time they had something called West Side Rentals, and you would go on, and I went to different people and looked for roommates that I didn't know. And it was really, it was really uncomfortable. I'd never lived with anybody before. So it was like, please don't walk in on me, and please don't kill me. Um, so, and yeah, for sure, Cash, OCD is definitely intertwined with anxiety and emotions, and OCD can tick up along with other things when you are stressed, good stress, bad stress. Um, that's awesome, Crystal. It's definitely feeling like home. Didn't let my OCD get in the way when it wanted to, and that's awesome. I think decorating, like carving out your own space, is really important, especially because as we're navigating OCD and anxiety and everything else that we have on our plates, having a space that you can have a little bit of a retreat and that can feel like your space is really, really important. So I think that's awesome. And Nathan, I have a hard time getting up in the morning as well. I think mornings are hard. I've found, at least while I've been moving, that mornings have been really difficult. As the day goes on, I get a little bit calmer, but I think mornings. And then, I'm sure you've had those nightmares where, like, sometimes I have nightmares and it doesn't matter, but lately I've been having bad nightmares where I wake up and you have that awful feeling from them. Just kind of sets the mood for the day. So that's been fun. Stacy, not uncommon. Even going on a trip gives me anticipatory anxiety. I think a lot of things give me anticipatory anxiety, but I think it's also important. So that's totally normal, and I think it's important to recognize that it is that anticipatory, um, and we can recognize that for what it is, and know that that is not fact, and that we are capable of handling whatever occurs when we get there, if something occurs. Oh, did I miss something? Microstram, we're all here for you, Michael. You define what a true warrior is. Did I miss Michael's comment? Let me go back um, and see what Michael said. Let's see here. Where did I miss? Oh, okay, Michael. I'm unfortunately on leave of absence from work due to my OCD. We're sending you lots of love, Michael, and how can we support you? It's and that is okay. There's, no I hope you're giving yourself lots and lots of self-compassion and lots of love. This is a disorder that pops up in the back and can be difficult to navigate at times. So, we are definitely sending you all the good vibes. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Let us know how we can support you. Um, Robert Spence, Ethan, glad you keep your OCD at bay during your move. I don't. I go through these phases where sometimes I really have to challenge OCD, like my health stuff recently. It hasn't particularly been that present for me in the last couple of weeks. And I think part of that is due to the way I handled the health stuff. Honestly, I think I really leaned into uncertainty and living with discomfort for a long period of time. I just think the natural emotions and stress and uneasy feeling is really kind of uncomfortable um, at the moment. But thank you. Yeah. Erica McCoy, lots of exciting things going on, feeling the pressure and exciting. We leave in 11 days. So we are driving from KC to Florida for the conference. Oh, that's an awesome road trip. You stopping anywhere fun, Erica? We're excited to see you. Um, Selena wrote, definitely understandable. Change is always shifting things within us, but I'm so glad that you're coping as best you can. Being aware of triggers is so helpful, not only in finding ways to cope, but to communicate our thoughts and worries to the ones we love. I think that's beautifully said, Selena. Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. Change is hard. It's like, and change really flies in the face of um, our comfort. I mean, OCD craves rigidity. OCD wants it the way it wants it in the order, in the time, and the way we combat that is really embracing flexibility, the ability to be nimble and flexible and make decisions in the moment. And so, obviously, as things change, you are required to be nimble. As simple as you go for a picnic outside, it starts to rain. Okay, well, are you going to be like, no, I said I'm going to have this picnic, and so I'm going to sit here in the rain and have it? Or, do we go inside and have it inside? And it's something simple as that. We have to be willing to be um, as flexible as possible, especially with OCD, because that is a great way to really put it to bed. Yvonne, why would I kill you? Please don't kill me. I don't think I will. Um, So Isastasia wrote, every time I have moved, I've always worried about what kind of people the neighbors are. We've definitely thought that. So far, they've been pretty quiet, but nice. We made the mistake of moving in and cutting down a tree, which pissed off the entire neighborhood. The tree was dying and it was going to fall on the neighbor's house. So I thought I was doing a good thing. And instead, everybody flipped out that we cut down a tree. And so the neighborhood was angry at us for 2 weeks until they discovered that it was a dying tree and it was a hazard. But so I think the neighbors, I don't know where the neighbors are. You don't want to be those people that move into the neighborhood and all automatically cause a problem. Didn't mean to. Hopefully that's been resolved. So yeah, that. But true. I look forward to seeing. It's really a diverse neighborhood. So our two neighbors to either side of us are Asian. Our neighbor across from us is Indian, and then we have a um, I don't know, a white dude across the street as well. So, and I'm the other white dude. So I love this. This area that we live in is so diverse. The food is amazing. The people are so different and diverse and interesting. We're really excited to be up in this part of north of Atlanta. Jane Taylor and depression. I've been dealing with depression and OCD symptoms. And that's very, very common. And depression makes treating OCD so difficult because it really attacks motivation. And so, the depression feeds the OCD feeds the depression, and it can become a really vicious cycle. So, Jane, if you have any questions around that, please don't hesitate to ask. Beth Carducci, I'm starting a really small business selling some crab food. Nothing fancy, just a few things. We see how it goes. I'm calling it Krabby Cafe. I will add more food if I get a lot of orders. That's awesome, Beth. I love that so much. I mean, if there's anyone that should be doing anything in the crab business, it is you. So you have to keep us updated on all of that. I think that is awesome. And congratulations on the side hustle. I think that's awesome. I'm so excited for you. I want to see, we should all come up with logos for Beth's business if you don't have one already. And Summer wrote, I am also going on a leave of absence. Summer, please feel free to share if And it's okay that it's okay to be late. We could be late to this. It is totally fine. No one has to apologize for sure or hate themselves. All good. Um, and Beth wrote, "It will make me feel useful. I need to do something because I certainly can't go out." Sorry, I was watching a chipmunk run across the fence. I certainly can't go out and work. It will give me a sense of accomplishment. I love that, Beth. And it's baby steps. It can lead to something else, can lead to something else, and lead to something else. And so I applaud you on self motivation can be so challenging and finding things to give yourself that purpose that we all crave. And I think that is a huge step forward to you. And I love the name. And yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it. Oh, good, Crystal. I'm excited. I'm assuming we're talking about the conference. I'm so glad everybody's going to be there. Um, so Jane wrote, I was depressed before my OCD diagnosis is which to treat first. It's a tricky one. So sometimes depression is a primary diagnosis, and sometimes depression is a secondary diagnosis. So what that means is you actually have a depressive disorder that is comorbid or co-occurring with OCD. Sometimes depression is a symptom of the OCD. So for me, I had really severe OCD, really severe depression because of the OCD. And so by treating the OCD, that slowly alleviated the depression. And that but it's extremely difficult because when you're depressed, you don't feel motivated. What's the point? And all of those hopeless thoughts, circulating through the head. If depression is there first and it's a combination of both, then that's a different like line of treatment, a different, approach. But it all requires behavioral activation, which is really just about getting up and moving your body and doing things despite how you feel. So there are some overlap and similarities in treatment. Um, and Beth wrote, no, land hermit crab, no crab fishing. I can never eat crab now that I have crabs as pets. For those of you that don't know Beth, Beth is the crab queen. I call her in my head Crab Carducci. And if you want to know about anything hermit crabs, she is your go-to. Um, so yeah, we're talking about moving. Does anyone go to group therapy and know what it's like? So I'm sure, knowing how wonderfully supportive this group is, I'm sure people have answered. But I love group therapy. I think when I did group therapy as part of residential intensive outpatient, I think it can be really motivating and helpful. First of all, to not feel so alone, to know that there's other individuals that are going through similar things. It can also feel simultaneously isolating because maybe you don't feel like your group is going through the same things that you are, and so maybe you feel like you're different. And different people have different experiences in group situations. I think it's important to note that OCD is OCD regardless of symptoms or subtypes. So while it may feel like nobody quite understands what you're going through, I think it's important to note the disorder is the disorder. But with that, it is important to feel seen and heard. If you're the only one experiencing religious scrupulosity or self-harm or something like that, it can feel a little bit isolating. But I do think group therapy can be really beneficial in terms of supporting one another, being motivated, again, not feeling alone, and having a collaboration. I think it's the same thing as like working on a project. I think there's times where you want to do it yourself, and I think those times with a therapist or a specialist is really important, one-on-one. And then simultaneously, I think group is a really good opportunity as well. And sometimes group therapy can be a little bit cheaper as well, so it can be more of a financial option. So Michael Schramm, I'll be doing a support group and enjoying getting to connect with many wonderful folks. Yeah, we're looking forward to meeting Michael in person for sure. And Isostasia also loves crabs and marine arthropoda. I can never eat them. I won't speak to what I eat. Um, so this is interesting. Isn't depression dealing with the past, anxiety the future? So this is an interesting question. So I think that we can say is, I'm not a clinician, so I'm just going to speak from my own personal opinion and view. I think we can be depressed about a lot of things. Honestly, I think we can be depressed about something coming up. And depression is a strong word. I think that we have to be mindful of the words we choose. Um, you know, um, we can be depressed or scared of something that is going to happen. Um, if you have a family member that's in hospice, you can be depressed that they're going to pass, right? or you can be depressed about something that has happened, or to be depressed in the present moment because perhaps you're sick and you can't do something. I think that depression personally can exist in any time or space. Now, anxiety exists only in the future or the past, does not exist in the present. Um, so you can be anxious about something that you did, or you can be anxious about something that you may do or that's going to happen. Um, and so typically anxiety is a future or past, I was going to say sensation, but you know what I'm talking about. I think depression can occur, but I'd be curious. There might be some therapists here today. So what do you think about Jane's question? Summer wrote, I'm currently navigating trying to get on SSRI for my mental health conditions. It's so frustrating. I think we can all relate to well, not all of us, but many of us can relate to getting on medications. It is really challenging. It can feel hard and lots of feelings associated with it and side effects. I think that it's really important not to stigmatize yourself for being on a medication. I think it's really important to think of OCD as just like any other disease or disorder, and we would take a medication for that. OCD's medication, includes treatment, evidence-based therapy, ERP, acceptance commitment therapy, other modalities of treatment, in addition to exercise, good sleep, good diet, and all of those things. And I think that whether you choose to take medication or not, I think the consensus is the combination of medication and treatment is usually the most effective for OCD. I also think it's important, when I was in my teens and 20s and diagnosed, I was told from a medication perspective that I was going to be on things for life. That was kind of the methodology back then. And I still am on medication. I don't know whether I need to still be on it, but I am on it. I think right now the school of thought is, if you're able to get into therapy, medication can be really beneficial in bringing your shields down and being willing to embrace therapy and the uncertainty a little bit more. And so, it doesn't necessarily need to be thought of as a long-term thing. It needs to be thought of as a tool that you're using in conjunction with other tools to try to, get a hold of OCD and get a handle on it and get your life back to that full, beautiful life you deserve. And then from there, you can make some additional decisions. And I've seen a lot of folks go on medication to really engage in treatment. And once they have the treatment tools and skills, they get off the medication and can manage their OCD simply by utilizing, the behavioral therapy, which is awesome. So, but with that in mind, I've been on every SSRI before I got better. I'm on one now, but I totally know the process, and it feels like crap, and you feel like a guinea pig upping and changing the doses and then swapping over, and feels like an giant. But you will find the right combination, I am sure. Um, so here's a good question, Lewis. What are the differences between OCD and OCPD? If someone believes their compulsions are justified, is this still OCD? So the general consensus is that people who have OCD do not enjoy doing compulsions, and individuals with OCPD do enjoy doing their compulsions. So, for instance, if somebody likes to straighten or clean or organize and has OCPD, that is actually something they enjoy doing, and the discomfort comes when it is messed up, right? It is ruined. It is. I almost said dirtified. That's a cool word. I can roll with that. Whereas with OCD, obviously, we don't want to be doing compulsions. We hate compulsions. We try to avoid compulsions by being triggered. We really despise and don't want to be doing them, but feel like we have to because for whatever reason we're doing them. They alleviate the fear. They alleviate the thought for the short term. They alleviate the feelings. And so typically that's a major distinction between the two. Let's see what Selena wrote. Selena wrote, change is definitely hard. OCD makes things almost not impossible to move forward. And it's horrible because my little girl has a hard time. Long story short, my little girl was an only child until now. 12 years later, I'm having another baby. My little girl definitely had a really hard time accepting this change. And believe me, it was as hard for her as it was for me. It's been a process, a lot of reassurance to put her fears at rest. I was just reprocessing what you thought. Well, first of all, congratulations on your beautiful new baby. And I think that OCD can make many things very, very challenging, and many life events very challenging. And I think, we can understand probably being an only child for so long, but I think that it being a process and reassuring put a lot of fears at rest. And also, 12 years old is, I think communicating truth is important too. But, obviously helping your daughter understand um, that this doesn't mean that she's going to be replaced, or whatever fears she may be having. And it's only building a family. There'll be more love. There'll be more fun. She's a built-in best friend. You know. Um, so thank you for sharing that. And please feel free to join here anytime as you navigate the process. I know, and I'm actually not sure, Selena, if your daughter has OCD or you have OCD. But regardless, pregnancy, prenatal, postpartum can definitely bring up lots and lots of OCD stuff. So however we can support, but I think that's a beautiful start. Um, Erica said, we're stopping in GA to see my maid of honor, Cocoa Beach, and then after the conference is a full-on road tripping for a week back. Not exactly sure where we're going. That's awesome. That's awesome. You'll have to give a report, Erica, on all the cool things you do, because that sounds really rad. C wrote, I believe one of my compulsions is to send my inner critic messages, i.e. that thing I did was stupid. Do you think ERP scripts would help with managing that compulsion? Let me read that one more time. I believe one of my compulsions is to send myself inner critic messages, i.e. that thing I did was stupid. That's a good question. I mean, we all have, an inner critic, and our inner critics are typically pretty nasty people. I always like to say that, put that off. I always like to say that we probably would not be friends with our inner voices. If somebody else talked to us like that, we would be like, F off, dude. But when our brains tell us that you're stupid, that was stupid, you're a crap, you're fake, you're a fraud, we're like, oh my God, you're right. And then you finally figure it out. And you're like, you're a liar. I'm not listening to you. And the next morning, your inner critic or your inner voice goes, you're a fraud, you're a fake, you're a liar. And you're like, oh my God, you're right. And it just keeps tricking us. I always think about the fact that, yeah, if that were like a real person on the outside, I'd be like, screw you, dude. You know, I'm not a therapist, but for my own, I think recognizing, well, first of all, I think it's cool that you're recognizing that you're doing this. I think potentially scripting could be really beneficial if it's something to the effect of, embracing sort of embracing the messages. If they, I'm not sure, I'm actually curious to see what the relief you're getting from the compulsion. I believe one of my compulsions is to send myself inner critic messages, that thing I did was stupid. Do you think ERP scripts would help me? So I'm wondering if that's the obsession, though. So maybe you can, I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. So maybe if you want to elaborate just a little bit. Okay. This chat is so downbeat. That's okay. I go to DBT group therapy. There's a lot of DBT group therapy. So DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's all about emotional regulation. I think it's a really, really beneficial therapy. It was for me in my own OCD journey. And it's definitely a great adjunct. I personally would get really emotionally dysregulated when I would engage in exposures. So DBT really helped me sort of regulate my emotions so I could engage in the treatment and get my medicine, for lack of a better word. Erica McCoy wrote, I've been to so many group therapy. It's a love-hate relationship. I think therapy is a love-hate relationship personally. Crystal wrote, I did it as part of a program in an eating disorder center before I was diagnosed with OCD, and it's both helpful and not for that reason. I do several support groups now and love them. And yeah, support groups are very different than group therapy. And as I said, I remember in group therapy sitting there many times thinking, they don't know anything about me. They don't get me. I'm different. I would watch people get better and think that, like, what was wrong with me? I'm not getting better, but they are. I must be different. My OCD must be harder, or I must be more broken. And so, there are those sides of it. And at the same time, there are some beautiful sides of group therapy. Again, just with the camaraderie and knowing you're not alone and being able to share things and so forth and so on. It's also important how it's run and who the clinician is that's running it and how they navigate. But plug for Beth, Land Hermit Crab Owner Society on Facebook. I'm an admin, been with the group for 14 years. Crab Carducci, love it. All right, awesome. Go join. Learn all you can. Summer wrote, my mind is running around in a lot of directions and a lot of logistical work today for my leave. That's understandable. I think, look, change is hard. And I think our minds really go crazy in a lot of different directions. And I think that's totally normal. It's racing thoughts and things like that. And trying to slow it down is hard. I think today we had a lot of workers into the house, getting the house ready. So I was working on advocacy stuff. I was working on work stuff. And then they were all asking for things. And I got to a point where I was like, too much input. And I started getting really overwhelmed. And Katie was like, just breathe, come back to the moment, settle down. It's always good to have somebody else to kind of remind you of those things. So you are not alone in that. My mind is running around a lot too, for sure. And that can be hard to navigate sometimes. So Melissa Marquez, currently navigating, trying to pull through health anxiety, OCD, since still this in the process for several months, trying to find answers for symptoms. Also, because all of that, had to cancel my trip to the conference. Oh, I'm sad I won't get to meet folks of this awesome community. Hopefully Chicago 2025. I'm so sorry you're going through that, Melissa. We love you. You're amazing. And a great asset to the OCD community. And I'm sorry you're going through that. I relate from my the mass in my tummy. And even now, even getting, some reassurance, 3 weeks ago, being told that, it's looking like it's benign and we'll check it again in 6 months, as I continue to engage in value-driven things and things that are really important to me. My OCD challenges it, because you start to see like your life ahead of you. And then especially with health anxiety, at least for me, mine always ends in death, and a painful death. So it immediately goes, oh, you're not going to have this much longer. You're not going to be able to enjoy this. You're not, it's just going to be a tease for now. And so living with that discomfort and uncertainty is challenging, especially, when we're engaged in something that's really value driven and really meaningful to us. And that is completely normal. But Melissa, I hope you can take comfort in knowing that I feel like I came out stronger, embracing the level of uncertainty I did around what I was experiencing, in no way comparing to what I was experiencing, what you're experiencing. But my biggest fear has always been, what if I had a tumor and or a mass or whatever? And I always thought it would be in my brain, not my stomach. But regardless of the location, if you'd asked me at any given time in my life, if that happened, how I would have reacted, I would have told you, oh, it'd put me in bed and I wouldn't be able to function. And there was a point in the journey early on when they told me to wait 3 months and get to rescan, where I had a really hard day. And I realized in that moment that this could be the thing that would cause me to relapse. And I haven't had a relapse since I got better in 2010. I've lapsed, right? I've had ups and downs. We've talked lots about it, but I haven't had a relapse. And as this was happening, I was like, all right, Ethan, this is the opportunity and the time to either put up or shut up. And it's scary, but I knew that everything I had worked so hard to build would come crashing down if I didn't do it. And I'm fortunate enough to have a support system to help me navigate all of these things. And I recognize that that's a privilege. I recognize that not everybody has that. And that's why I work so hard to be here with you and support the IOCDF in creating accessible, affordable, effective care and treatment for as many people as possible. God, I hope that can happen sooner rather than later, because we all deserve to live like full, beautiful lives. But coming out on the other side, at least for now, and having a short-term answer and really having to sit with this idea of like, okay, this is what the doctor said. In 6 months in December, that's then. This is what I know now, and I'm just going to be okay with that. It's challenging, but if I think about if I'd hidden or really given into the feelings, what all I would have missed in those 3 months. And one of the ways I looked at it is, if it was the worst case scenario, after the 3 months, then at least I lived the way I would have wanted to live those 3 months, right? And if it was good news, which it was, and I had missed out, I'd be pissed at myself for missing out on all those things. And I know we all have, many of us share a lot of regrets and guilt and shame over things we've missed. And I didn't want that to be. So I'm just telling you this, hopefully, to let you know that, there's help, there's hope. I hope that's a little bit inspiring. I think we all have the fortitude and strength and gumption to be able to do this. But it also requires, skills and tools. It isn't just a matter of gritting your teeth and trying to make it through. That doesn't work. And so, hopefully you can get additional insights and have the help that you need. So anyway, I'm going off, but Melissa, we're sending you lots and lots of love. And we definitely look forward to meeting you in person in Chicago. June, or has anyone seen someone else get confronted for whatever OCD subtype? Like, let's say, for example, you commit a sin and you have religious OCD and see other people shaming others for committing that sin. That's a great question. So I think an interesting comparison. Well, has anyone ever seen else compared for OCD subtype? Like, let's say, for example, you commit a sin and you have religious OCD and see other people shaming others. So in a religious scrupulosity standpoint, it can get really dicey in what is a sin and and what is the original sin, and what I almost feel like Katie needs to answer this question, because it's a great question. Because I'm trying to compare it in my head to other OCD subtypes. It's like having a fear of it's almost like having POCD, right? And other people are shaming people for obviously that's a very shameful thing if you actually engage in that type of thing. So people have thoughts and similar things. I want to think about that. I feel like if I were less tired, I'd be able to give you a more thoughtful answer, just being candid with you. But my brain isn't processing the question that well. I have a feeling maybe somebody hopefully answered your question better than I just did. Let's see, you elaborate. Do you ever have a thought like, is that what they think about me? Maybe I did something wrong. Okay, I gotcha. I think that's OCD. I think that we have to recognize that there are things that people do that are sins and that are bad in the way you want to say that they're bad. And then we have our OCD questions everything and makes us doubt everything. Did we do that thing? Did we think that thing? What if I did that thing right? What if I should have said that prayer one more time? And so when we see that in reality with somebody else, it's then easy for us to judge ourselves and question what it is we're doing, what people think of us, and kind of go down that rabbit hole, when in reality, I don't know that it is comparable. I think we know the difference between right and wrong. I think our OCD puts doubt in our heads about whether we've done right or wrong. It makes us feel guilt when we shouldn't feel guilty. It makes us feel sinful when we shouldn't feel sin, or we haven't committed sin, right? It creates a lot of unrest and anxiety, when in fact, maybe there shouldn't be a concrete reason why there should, right? Like, we can be at a beach sipping a drink and be extremely anxious. Why? Oh, that's the way our brains operate, right? So the question is, do you ever have the thought, like, absolutely, whether you have religious scrupulosity or otherwise, is it, gosh, I think that way about somebody that did that. Do they think about me? But then the question becomes, did you do that? Did you do that? Did you, maybe you feel like you did, maybe you think that you might have, but there's a question. I think it's too easy for us to compare ourselves to the things we fear or the people we fear being like, when in and OCD tries to draw correlations to that and go, oh gosh, well, that person sinned and look how people think of him. I can't do. What if they think that about me? I have to pray harder, work harder, go to whatever your religious affiliation is and go more and all of that stuff, right? Because OCD will really just focus in on that. So you're definitely not alone in thinking that, but I would also try to challenge the OCD and the reality of the situation. and or embrace the uncertainty of, I don't care what people think about me, because I know that I have OCD. Most likely my OCD is lying to me. And so I'm going to risk that person thinking that thing of me, knowing that it's most likely my OCD and not reality. Hopefully that was helpful. A little slow today. I apologize. Oh, thank you for putting the link to support group, Stacy. I appreciate it. Now that I run my own stream, for those of you that are old school to this, probably won't be able to post as many links as usually done when somebody's behind the scenes. So thank you, Stacy. Yes, they're amazing support groups. IOCDF has a huge list of support groups. They're all free. Please check them out. Thank you so much, Stacy, for putting that in there. I need all the help I can get. Crystal wrote, meds saved my life last year. Was so scared to be on them and forever thankful I did it. I'll just repeat the fact that I think that it's really important, to utilize all the skills and tools that we're able to have to beat this, right? And I think that there's a lot of different things we can do. And, you have to decide for yourself. If you do treatment and you're 60% better and you're not on medication and a doctor says, hey, maybe we can get you another 10 or 20%, you have to ask yourself if that's worth it. And that's a very personal decision. And there's no judgment either way. But I will say that it's like, if you can get 10% more relief or 20% more relief, at least personally, I'm down for that. As long as it's not harmful or anything like that. And I think you really have to look from a holistic perspective and be like, okay, what's the outcome here? What can I get? And sometimes, like I said earlier, medication is really just, opens a window for the treatment to get in there and really be beneficial. Other people really respond really well to it. Other people don't respond at all to it. I think that's why it's important. We don't talk a lot about medication on here. I'm not a psychiatrist, though I did play a doctor on CSI Miami. Look it up. But what I will say is I think that it's important not to compare or ask like, hey, what medication worked for you? Or what are you on if you're doing so well? It's a very personalized. It's not like an Advil where if 100 people had a headache and they all took Advil, probably 90 people's headaches would go away, right? But if 100 people have OCD symptoms and they all take Prozac, it's going to affect everyone completely differently. So it's very personalized, and that's why you need to go to a psychiatrist or your primary care physician. But I would urge you to go to a psychiatrist who specializes in this kind of thing and really understand what your options are and what's been beneficial in their practice, looking at their demographics and things like that, and go from there. So just my 2 cents on that. Good topic, though. Ethan, I've been on meds for several years, and one in particular has been a lifesaver. And that's awesome. So, like, my situation with meds is I don't have a clue, for real. I don't have a clue what the medications are doing with my OCD. So, I was diagnosed at 14. I was put on medications until 31. I was on every SSRI, every tricyclid. They worked for 6 months, and then they stopped working. Or did they stop working? I'm not sure, because I never had the right therapy. And so I was always compulsing, and I was always ramping up and gritting my teeth and white knuckling and then falling back and so forth and so on. And the cycle literally continued for 17 years, right? Where I would be able to function some and then not at all, and then function some until I couldn't take it anymore, was exhausted. And that's when I would switch medication and so forth and so on. The medication that I'm on now is simply the last medication I was put on before while I was in the hospital, just to regulate me. I don't know that it changed anything about my OCD because I got on the medication and then I went to residential, like by way of intensive outpatient, right? If you know my story. And if not, one day, maybe there's so many new faces here. Maybe next time I'll share my story with you, if that'd be interesting. Let me know in the chat if you'd like to hear my story. I can also send you the keynote link, but maybe it'd be fun to hear it in person. But I can't tell you what the meds do or whether they do anything or not. But I'm not willing to rock the boat. And if I'm getting 5, 10, 15% relief from it, then great. It's no secret that I also have a bipolar diagnosis. And I will tell you, getting on that medication within 2 days, I saw a massive difference in my symptoms and haven't had an issue since. And that was in 2018. So that was a very different experience for me than the OCD medication that I was on. But yeah, the one that I'm on now, was literally the conversation with my psychiatrist when I needed to be stabilized was like, so what medication have you been on? And I went through the list and they're like, well, which did you think worked the best? And I said, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, we'll go back to that. And that's the medication I've been on ever since. So I wish I could tell you that, yeah, it's been awesome or not. I just don't know. But, maybe one day I'll decide to see what happens. But I'm just, there's no downside that I know of. So it's just worth it for me to just kind of stay on and not rock the boat. But that's my journey. And I'm so glad that other people are finding, medication to be extremely helpful. Again, please, 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 there's no shame. Having shame in taking medication for OCD is like having shame for taking medication for diabetes or cancer or any other disorder that requires high right? It's all a valid mental or physical disease disorder that deserves medication, and whether that medication is therapeutic, behavioral, pharmacological, we have to stop stigmatizing ourselves for it. And we have to embrace the treatment options that are out there for us in order for us to regain our lives. And I know that that's not easy. I know that there's lots of people out there that judge and stigmatize and say shameful things and all of that stuff. But that's why we are all here together to remind ourselves that we all deserve a really big, beautiful life. And so, how are we going to get that? Oh, I did, Summer. I'm sorry. I did interpret SSI as SSRI. No, you're totally fine. Thank you for that. Hi, Andrew. My OCD clinician had to literally hold my hand the process of getting acclimated to my medication due to my emetophobia OCD. So I have a emetophobia, and I also really was afraid with health anxiety. The side effects drove me nuts because you feel something different every time, and so I totally relate to that. And I'm super proud of you for doing that. That's awesome, and hopefully you found a space that you're happy with. Um, let's see here, just and see, and this is what I'm saying. I've tolerated my medications very well, very few side effect problems. Hence what I just said, which is everybody has a completely different experience, which is why your journey is important. I think to have these conversations is really important about like the totality of our experiences, right? To understand that everybody's is different. Um, and going in armed with that knowledge is really important. So yes, Grace. I hope to see lots at you at the conference. Also, don't forget about the online conference as well. So, yes, there are virtual options for this year's conference, and then there'll be an additional online conference in November. I think they just asked for submissions. An email went out now. So, if you want to submit and you want to present a panel at the online conference in November, go to the IOCDF website, visit iocdf.com/conference, I think it is, and and see about submitting a proposal, because all of you always say amazing, smart, insightful, intelligent, way more brilliant things than I do. So you should all be presenting at the conference. And I think that a virtual conference is such a great place to start. All the time we get asked, how can I advocate? How can I advocate? Such a great spot to such a great place to start. And maybe we can talk about, if y'all have questions about how to present a panel, submit a panel. Please don't hesitate to let me know. Um, June, coming out with the true spears. Humans are not 100% certain about everything. I swore I would fail the test, even though I studied hard, but actually got good marks. Are you 100% sure you'll make it on time for work? Are you 100% sure? That is true. We will never be certain. That is true. I will tell you the one thing, I repeat this. Uh, the one thing you can be certain of is that if you continue to compulse and engage in compulsions and don't resist OCD, your world will become very, very small. And I think you all can relate to that to some extent, or are relating to that now. And ironically, in this whole grand scheme of therapy and treatment, where it's all about embracing the uncertainty and we can't be certain, I always find it really powerful to remind myself that the one certainty we have is, if I choose to compulse, I will lose the things that I care about most. Ah, Selena, thank you. My daughter has OCD. Okay. I understand now. Thank you so much. Matt Bannister, we haven't heard from him. I've been going through the challenging few weeks with just right OCD, with messaging people while OCD is trying to latch on, saying if I don't message others perfectly, no one will want to respond to me. So I'm using all the tools with embracing uncertainty, self-compassion, and bringing it on mindset, and knowing OCD is a liar. So I'm still reaching towards my values, connecting with others while being my full, authentic self and telling OCD talk to the hands, or in that case, the hands. I love that, Matt. Thank you for sharing that insight. It can be really challenging, and OCD is crafty. I always know when I've sent a compulsive text, because like I'll been on a phone call with somebody, and if I ever do this to you, then you'll know. Now you know the secret. I'll be on a phone call with somebody, and I'll talk, and we'll have a great conversation, and they'll second guess. Well, what if I said that thing? What if I did that? And I'll send a text, and it'll be like, "So great to connect with you again. Oh, that was a really meaningful conversation. Hope nobody's on here that I recently sent that to." And if they respond with like "Oh, me too. Let's do it again." I'm like, "Okay." Whew. If they don't respond, then well, now I'm worried. And if they send an emoji, I'm on the fence, because it could go either way with emojis. So I always have to catch myself as I pick the phone up to text, just as I've hung up the phone. Be like, you know what? I'm just gonna let that be there. Just trying to get through. I know I'm so behind on questions. Um, Daniel Smith, I have pure OCD and it's getting severe. I get triggered by my video games. Any advice? The advice is a little bit difficult because I don't have a ton of context, Daniel. Um, but generally, pure OCD is obsessions and compulsions that are mental. So I'd be curious to know what your mental obsessions and compulsions are, and then what you're doing. And actually, we just go from there. You may actually have written that down further in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm behind. Um, so whoops, I left you up. So I need a little bit more context. Okay. Ooh, I just put my first person in timeout. That was cool. Anyway, so I think we're coming up on time. Let me look for one more question. You guys have been incredible tonight. I'm so sorry I couldn't keep up with all the comments today and questions. Y'all just continue to show up and be amazing. I love blocking my face. There we go. Oh, wait, Katie's here. I mean, I'm not supposed to say that out loud because she was popping off to help me. But sorry, Nikki. I don't know if I can find the question, because it was such a good question. And I know people are asking questions already, and I should. Okay, here it is. Can I put you on camera, Katie? Okay, she's not sure, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Hi, I
Surprise
wasn't.
guest.
I actually was just jumping. Hi, everyone. I was jumping on the back end to save and come moderate. I do not look good and have been unpacking during the stream and was half listening, so I don't know what's going on, except that I thought there needed to be some
I have
moderating.
a question. So I have a really good question. I did a terrible answer because my brain is fried too. So here's the question.
Okay.
Has anyone seen someone else get confronted for whatever OCD subtype? Like, let's say, for example, you commit a sin, you're religious OCD, and see other people shaming others for committing that sin. Follow-up question: do you ever have a thought like, is that what they think about me? Maybe I did something wrong. And go.
Okay. I have so many thoughts. I feel like there are kind of two pieces with this. First, apart from religious scrupulosity, and hi, everyone. I see so many folks in the chat. Thank you for bearing with me as I'm sweaty and gross in our house without furniture. So with this, I think there's two pieces. The first, I think it can come up so often where we see someone else doing something or we see someone responding to someone else and we automatically have the thought, well, this must be me. If this person is getting in trouble for doing X, Y, and Z, I must be doing the same thing. We could think of that with something around religion. We could think about that with really anything. I'll say for me, as somebody with moral scrupulosity, this comes up for me all the time. Even if I'm watching a show and I see someone lie or I see someone do something bad, even if I see someone go to jail, I'll say, well, I've made a mistake. Does that mean I'm like that person? And we see it really, really black and white. Like we have to be this absolute, complete, perfect version of morality, or we're like this other thing that we're seeing. Life is not black and white. OCD is. It makes us see things in this really, really rigid way. And that's really where, with treatment, psychological flexibility comes in, and recognizing that there is gray and that you don't have to be perfect. And just because you aren't perfect doesn't automatically mean that your OCD is correct. I also think you're bringing in the scrupulosity side, where I really believe strongly in theological flexibility. I come from a tradition that is very, very open and forgiving, and I know that there are lots of folks across the board who see theology in lots of different ways. But what I will say is that regardless of traditions, OCD makes things even more rigid than they need to be. Regardless if you're in a cash um, conservative tradition or a more progressive tradition, OCD will kind of combine with that and say, you did something wrong. You committed a sin. This is horrible forever. And I think we have this really, really amazing opportunity anytime we're dealing with religious scrupulosity, when we are moving from a space of fear or anxiety or guilt or shame, to recognize that that's probably OCD and probably not the way that our faith is intending for us to move. And being able to recognize that faith typically comes from a space of meaning and connection and hope and moves more slowly. And being able to separate that out, in addition to finding the gray, can be really helpful. So I think there are two components. I don't know that I made a whole lot of sense either after this really long day, but thank you.
That was awesome. And I'm never doing another community conversations without you.
Oh, Cash, she's wearing pink. Yeah, I'm in like my around the house stuff, and it's still pink.
Incidentally, I was seeing people mentioning my my keynote, and so while Katie was talking, I went ahead and grabbed the link to my keynote. Katie, you're awesome. Thank you. There was one other question that, like, my brain wasn't quite. This is an awesome group tonight. Everybody is just so many good questions, and I hate that I can't get to everybody's.
And hi, Summer. Sorry.
No. You're great. Oh, here it is. Let's see here. It's from C.
Oh, and I see. Sorry. Hi, Love Lana and Grace and Cash. Okay, sorry. Keep going, Ethan. I just saw the comments. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm done.
No, I'm looking for it's.
Oh, and Matt.
I don't mean to kill people's time. I'm so sorry. I just thought it was a good question.
Sit with the discomfort. You were killing everyone's time right now. Ah, they are so frustrated with you.
No, aren't we the big girl?
I know.
All right. Well, I can't. Oh, here it is. So I believe one of my compulsions is to send myself inner critic messages, i.e., that thing I did was stupid. Do you think ERP scripts would help managing the compulsion? I was wondering if that was the obsession rather
Wait,
than
cut it back up so I can. You took it down too quick. I'm still.
Yeah, because I was looking for. There was a follow-up.
One of my compulsions.
That they wrote.
Yeah. So I would actually no, Ethan. I would say that is, well, anything can be compulsive. And what I'm assuming this person is saying that is that for some reason or another, often that might be moral scrupulosity, that might be shame around intrusive thoughts, that might be feeling like we're not good enough. A compulsion actually can be, like a self-harming component. It can be self-punishment. A lot of compulsions actually can relate to punishing ourselves. So if you are compulsively sitting there thinking, I am so stupid, to punish yourself, that can be really a compulsive thing. And I think the scripting with that, I would encourage you to work with your therapist, to work with your provider on what might work the best for you. But I would actually think that there should be an ACT component that goes with that. And there should be a focus on self-compassion, because I think the exposure in the script actually wouldn't necessarily be around you sitting with hating yourself. We don't want you to do that. I actually think it would be the opposite. I think it would be leaning into this idea that maybe you actually can say nice things about yourself. And what does it look like to say those nice things and to let all of the guilt and the shame of saying those nice things, and am I allowed to say those nice things, be there without then saying those negative things to self-punish.
And this is why I married smarter. Or does it make me the smartest person for marrying her? I don't know. Find out next week. Katie, you rock. I don't know. I like couldn't wrap my brain around what they were asking.
So I'll say I know you're over time, but I'll say for this person, yeah, I relate to this in a big way because I do this. One of my biggest, yeah, we are together, June. We're married. I'm upstairs in the house that we just moved into, also without furniture. So yeah, we're married. But yes, Cash. Clearly, I keep him in the basement with the green trees outside. But for this question, for such a long time, I had so much shame about my intrusive thoughts. I had so much shame about what I experienced. And I didn't realize probably my sneakiest compulsion was self-punishment. I was intentionally keeping myself stuck because I felt like I didn't deserve to get better. I was intentionally saying horrible things to myself because I felt like I didn't deserve to say nice things to myself. So I think this can be so tricky. And I think OCD can mask this in a whole bunch of different ways when in reality, you might intentionally be keeping yourself stuck or using kind of self-punishment as a compulsion. So I relate to this, to the person who shared this, and feel free to reach out to me also afterward if you want to talk more about this, because I think it can be tricky. And there's also some really awesome opportunities for self-compassion as an exposure.
How are you so sharp after today? I'm exhausted.
I just organized my whole bathroom too. I put everything away. I'm so excited.
Did you put my stuff away?
No.
Okay. Do you want to answer one last question?
Sure. And thank you for the congratulations I see on the new home. Thank you so much.
So we can answer this together, but I just saw this. So adult daughter involves me in helping her check if she gave me COVID and doubles the test, and doubts the test is accurate. She'll even sleep outside so not to expose me. What can I do or not do since I can't get her to therapy?
Okay, adult daughter involves me. Okay. So does anyone actually have COVID? Is that she gave me COVID and doubt the test is accurate? Ethan, do you know that piece?
Well, I do not, but adult daughter involves me in helping her check if she gave me COVID and doubts the test. So Pamela's taking the test to show that she's COVID negative.
Okay. Well, Ethan, you answer this one first. This is health. This is your.
You see, your brain had trouble wrapping around this. It's the same thing.
I can talk about Scroop and stuff all day long, but I know you're the health expert.
I think that it's tricky because if you can't get your daughter to therapy, then doing things like not engaging in reassuring behaviors can be really dysregulating and uncomfortable and can create a lot of angst for the individual who wants the reassurance. However, simultaneously, as you're learning, reassuring someone with OCD is not helpful. It really helps the OCD, not the individual. First of all,
she was in a crowd and keeps going to doctors, always negative. So for her, the health anxiety, the core fear is getting mom
and then
sick.
giving it to her mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple approaches, but I mean, the first one is it's tricky because if we give you ideas and tools, to not engage in compulsive behavior, it's going to create a ton of anxiety for your daughter, just because since she won't go to therapy, there isn't a lot of there's no foundation, right? All of a sudden, you'll just stop enabling her, and she will see that as you're hurting her, and it might become really divisive. So my first suggestion is, if she won't go to therapy, are you willing to go to therapy? Because I think a clinician, and I think this goes for all the parents in the audience, all the parents that are watching, whose kids, won't go, whether adult or under 18. That doesn't mean that you can't go and get skills and tools to help navigate the circumstances that you're in. It's really important
to do a space training. I think space training could be really great.
Yes, definitely look up space training, SPACE. With that being said, though, More importantly, I think, Katie, we'll see what you say. I think while we could sit here and possibly give you ways in which to help you not engage in compulsions, I would probably work on her willingness to go to treatment and
Mhm.
therapy, more importantly, because it's more about like, giving her a fish rather than teaching her to fish. So, we can try to like, you'll be doing this over and over again, as opposed to like, well, how can we get her interested and willing to seek treatment? So the question becomes, does she realize she have OCD? Because COVID is real, and I know Beth can speak to this, because COVID is a real thing, she'll probably say, no, I don't have OCD because people
Mhm.
are getting COVID. People are getting sick. I can't bring this home to you. COVID is real. And this is why COVID was so challenging for and still remains challenging for so many people with OCD. Um,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, with that, I think it's important to recognize OCD will always say, but this time it's real, right? But this time you're actually a bad person because you did this thing, or this time you're actually gonna get sick because COVID's real, or you're actually driving a car and hit a bump, right? So it's just OCD doing the same thing that it always does. And at the same time, I think with this, what Ethan said, I think really the focus is going to be to get her into therapy. And for her, as much as she thinks that it is, I think it's important for you to know it's not actually about the health anxiety. It's not actually about the COVID. It's about her core fear of keeping you safe, of something bad happening to you and it being her fault. And I see you saying she says she's a bad person for going to concerts. And it's so sad because she is equating doing something fun with potentially putting you in danger and putting all of this pressure on herself. And the reality is, OCD moves us further away from the things that it's claiming to protect. So I would actually think that that's a point potentially of leverage, compassionately having a conversation with her about treatment and recognizing, I know that you want to keep me safe. And I know this relationship is so important to you. And I know that you love me. But right now, it's actually really hurting me that you have to be outside and that you aren't able to have a relationship with me as my daughter. And it would mean so much to me if you even considered watching this live stream or going to this one session or taking this assessment. And even if you don't buy into it being OCD, if you really care about protecting me in this moment, this is something I need from you. And I think there's a way to kind of flip that core fear and actually use her values to potentially move her in that direction of treatment.
Yeah, and there's some additional, there's some additional leverages, such as like, are you accommodating anything with your adult daughter? Do you pay for things? Does she live at home? Cell phone? Does she pay bills? Nobody's saying just, cut the cord, but I'm just saying, if there's things, that you have leverage over, for instance, it's like, listen, this isn't helping you. I'm not going to help you get sicker. I tested once. That's it. I don't have it. I love you. Communication is key too. Don't be afraid to communicate your honest thoughts. I love you. And if I engage in compulsions with you, I'm just making you sicker, and I'm not willing to do that because I love you. But my other point was, trying to get into therapy, things like, I'm going to stop paying for your cell phone, in a month, if we don't get some therapy, or at least entertain the idea. All you have to do is go. There's things you can do, and I really wouldn't start. I'm not suggesting you start coming up with your own ideas. That's why it's really important to do it um, under the guidance of a specialist. But with that being said, just throwing that out there. And that's what my parents did. My parents were able, my therapists were able to leverage. I was living at home. My parents were taking care of me. I was working some, but then unable to work, and they were able to leverage things that I was indulging. Because at the end of the day, if you have everything taken care of for you, then you have time to indulge the OCD, right? If you don't, then suddenly, well, maybe it's time for me to like dive into life a little bit, because if I don't and I indulge the OCD, I'll end up losing everything. So, Katie, any last things to add? The numbers surged once you got on here, so I'm just going to duck out. And if you want to do another hour on your own,
I know you're like 15 minutes over, but I want to answer one more question that I saw pop up
for
because I think
sure.
this is really important.
Give me the
So,
time.
what?
What time?
8:07. I've got it.
Okay.
Mental compulsions, because I've been getting this question from folks actually a lot this week. So, June, I'm so glad you brought this up. How to stop mental compulsions, whether that's seeing magic words, thought stopping, thought blocking, all sorts of things. And I want to bring this up because I think the question I've been getting a lot this week is, how do we differentiate an intrusive thought from a mental compulsion? And we say so often we can't stop intrusive thoughts. The more we try to get rid of intrusive thoughts, the more they come on. But mental compulsions are different. It's actually something that we can really work on not engaging with. So I think thinking about that difference is really key in answering your question, June. So what I always think, that initial thing that pops up, that initial what if I'm a bad person? What if I hit somebody with my car? What if I get sick? That's the intrusive thought. There's nothing we can do about that. Intrusive thoughts are just thoughts. We get a bajillion thoughts a day. And the one that's coming up for you, yeah, it's the technical term. It's actually a bajillion, clearly.
A lot of thoughts.
It's a lot of thoughts. But the ones that are the most significant to you are going to get a little bit more stuck. So you're going to notice that thought. There's nothing we can do. We can wave at that. But right after that thought, any type of engagement you're doing with that thought is a mental compulsion. So if you're saying, wait, why did I have that thought? What does that thought mean? Let me think through all the reasons this thought isn't true. How can I step forward with this thought? How was I feeling? What sensations was I getting when I had this thought? All of that, even though it seems like it's just additional thoughts, is mental compulsions because you're engaging with the thought. And the really cool thing with this, I think it can be really, really tricky to stop this, but it's really cool when you recognize that you have actually power over this, not over the thoughts, but over the response. And I like to see it kind of like meditation, where as soon as we notice ourselves engaging with the thought, we can make an active choice to return to the present moment, to say, oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm engaging with that thought. How do I come right back here right now? How do I engage the five senses? How do I notice what's going on around me? And what I encourage folks to do is every time you do this, to celebrate it. It's a win. It isn't, oh, I'm really mad at myself because I caught myself engaging in a mental compulsion. It's, nope, I noticed it when it's really hard to notice, and I made the choice to come back. Now, when you've done a lot of mental compulsions, this may continue to happen. I know for me at one point, it was like there was a mental compulsion every 2 seconds. But I see it kind of like building a muscle, June, that every time you notice yourself engaging with the thought, you get to practice coming back to the moment. And eventually that coming back to the moment, as opposed to engaging, becomes your new automatic response.
Beautifully, beautifully, beautifully said, Katie. And Nathan, just to comment, I would be homeless if it wasn't for the help of my parents. I always say I would be dead if it wasn't for the help of my parents. And sometimes tough love is that thing that they have to do. So I totally understand. Real quick, I think it was just to jump on. I don't want to escape her basement. It's a great place to be. I think you should all come visit the basement that she keeps me in. And this is a fake background. I'm really just in the dark with the light bulb hanging over me. Just to continue on what Katie said, one of my favorite examples of the concept that Katie was describing, and she gave it a great example, but here's another one. You think of the word John, and you can't stop thinking of the word John, and it drives you crazy. So you're going to think of the name Jack over and over again, so you stop thinking of the name John. John is the obsessive thought, Jack is the compulsion. And I love that because it's so simple, right? So really it's not about, it's eliminating this Jack thought. Okay. And it's really just being okay with the John being present. The more we get angry at the thought being there, the more we get frustrated at the thought being there, the more we say to ourselves, I don't want to think this anymore. That's when it just keeps getting louder and louder. It's the same response that we have to a bully. Stop it. No, I don't want that. Stop, stop, stop. Right. So what Katie is talking about, and she did so beautifully, and I'm just, echoing her sentiments, is this idea of, I don't care if I think of John. Sure. It's annoying. And it drives me crazy, but I'm just going to say, hey, there's John again, and move on. And there's John again. Okay, nope, I'm going to come back. It's annoying, but you know what? I'm not going to let it get to me. Maybe it gets to me a little, but I'm not going to think Jack. I'm just going to be like, there's John, and just keep doing that. And when you keep doing that, you start to desensitize yourself to the impact of John. And when you're not so upset, when you're really embracing this idea, OCD, similar to a bully, says, well, gosh, I'm not getting the reaction I wanted. I'm supposed to be upsetting you, and you're not getting upset. So when you don't get upset, OCD slowly backs off, similar to a bully, right? If you take the power away from the bully, I got made fun of my weight in middle school. And OCD it's the perfect analogy. OCD is a bully. When you react to it, it feeds it more and more and makes it bigger and bigger. And so when I would cry and get upset and run away, from a bully that made fun of me because of my weight, he kept doing it. Now imagine if I saw this bully coming and I made fun of myself, right? I was like, yep, I'm huge, I'm fat, I'm enormous. If I sit on your mom, I would kill her, whatever. So he kind of stop and be like, why are you saying that about you? Like, that's my job. And he'd probably be kind of super surprised and not sure what to do. And if you think about that as OCD, that's how OCD reacts. When you take its power away, when you're willing to say, yeah, maybe, I don't care. Even if you do care, lie to OCD, say, I don't care, right? If you do that, OCD is suddenly like, oh, well, that's interesting. That wasn't the response I was expecting. And it starts to back off. And it's not an immediate thing. It's systematic. It takes time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but it works. And so
it totally works. Like, I love thinking about, and I know this is weird. Y'all are going to be like, why is the minister bringing up the movie 8 Mile? But I always think of, if anybody here has seen 8 Mile, and if you haven't, I don't know that I'm highly recommending it, but maybe go watch the very last scene. There's a rap battle, and Eminem is going up against this guy, and they're supposed to be completely dissing each other in this rap battle. And what he ends up doing is grabbing the mic and dissing himself. And then the other guy has absolutely, yeah, thanks, Matt. I think it's an awesome movie. So the other guy has absolutely nothing to say because he has just been like, no, okay, look at this. And I think that's the same confidence that we get to show with OCD. When OCD says something, we get to up the ante, just like Eminem does, and go like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm a horrible person. And then OCD has nothing to say back to us. So I think that actually, if you go in and watch that last scene, it's literally, we get to be the Eminem in our life in the 8 Mile rap battle, says the minister. Okay.
and with that, we're going to call it. Everybody loved having you here. I am now second fiddle, and I will gladly be second fiddle. I don't play the fiddle, but I'm happily a second fiddle in that cat. It will end with, Rev grabbing that mic. So, yep, that's exactly what she says. Okay, anyway, so let me thank our special guests. Well, first of all, thank y'all. It was awesome tonight. You guys were incredible. June, it was good to, this may have been your first time, but I hadn't seen your name, but welcome. And C, thank you so much for being here as well. As all of you, thank you so much for being here. Y'all are incredible advocates to yourselves and us, and you give us much love and support as we give you. So we are so grateful to you. Real quick, tomorrow at 12 p.m. No, that's incorrect. Yes, well, that is correct. Well, something's at 12 p.m., just not the thing I was about to read. I think tomorrow is a research roundtable at 12 p.m. I'm not sure what the subject is, but tune in at 12 p.m. Eastern. Also, there's still time to register for the 29th annual OCD conference. Amazing opportunity to meet everyone and come together. You can register at iocdf.org/OCDCon. Also, subscribe and follow on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth. Not Truth. I don't know why I said Truth. Twitch, all the LinkedIn, all the places. You'll get notified when we go live. And yeah, I think that's all the major announcements. Thanks for staying long with us. This was super fun. I'll be back 2 weeks from today. Is that true? Is that conference week, Katie?
No, you're going to be back here 2 weeks from today. Oh, and yes, Nathan, it is 8 Mile. I know a lot of, I was going to say for folks who are on Stick with the Ick, I'm going to maybe go post that scene tonight.
Actually,
I saw a couple
lot. I will not be here because that whole week we're off for conference. So I will not.
No. You are here.
23rd is a Tuesday.
Oh, yes. No, you are not here. You are correct.
I'm not here. So I will be back soon, and we'll make sure you know. Until then, please check out the virtual options if you're not going to the conference. If you are going to the conference, please stop us. We're always running around with our heads cut off, but please stop us, say hello, say, this is June from Community Conversations, and we'd love to talk and meet you and all the, yes, thank you, Amy Ellickson. Research Roundtable tomorrow, 12 p.m. on postpartum OCD. Perfect. Thank you. Amy, always with the assist. We love Amy Ellickson.
We love Amy.
And we love Matt. We love you all. So with that, I'm just ranting at this point. Thanks so much for spending your Tuesday evening with us. If you have any questions at all, you can always email the IOCDF at info@iocdf.org. You can also please, if for help, resources, questions, comments, helping your daughter. There's so many great resources and videos on the IOCDF website about individuals with OCD and treatment. Maybe find some videos to help as well, convincing to go to therapy. So visit iocdf.com. With that, have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the hook. And we will see you soon. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. Love you all. Good night. Katie forgot to press the thing.
Oh, I was blowing a kiss. I forgot I was moderating. Hold on. Wait,
Thank
hold
you,
on.
Dusty. I appreciate the rad stream. I like it.
Wait, hold on. Hold on.
It's too late. I'm gonna
no.
do it.
No,
I'm
almost there. I'm almost there. Wait,
I'm
hold
gonna
on.
do
Hold
it.
on. Hold on.
It's
Wait,
gonna
where's
happen.
the outro? Wait, thank you. Is that the right one?
No.
Wait, where's the right one?
This one. And scene. Love you all. Have a good night.
Bye.